Hello, Unity of Springfield. I am so happy to be with you today live via recorded live from Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, coming to you in Springfield, Illinois. I kind of try to be the little Stephen Colbert there a little bit, but it doesn't always work. So anyway, good morning. I am here today to talk about sacred covenants. And I wanted to just kick this off with sharing a covenant that I have. A covenant to me is an agreement, but it's sacred. And a little bit of my story back in 1993, maybe 94. So we're talking a couple of years ago here, 30 years ago almost. I had an experience in my life where I found myself really on my knees. And what I mean by that is prior to finding myself on my knees, my life was working okay. I'd already been into New Thought principles. I'd been studying creative visualization with Shakti Gawain. Some of you might remember that. I had been starting some practitioner training in the Centers for Spiritual Living, then known as religious science. I had already been working on myself. And the backstory is I come into this point in my life and this opportunity in my life that I went, oh, this is it. And I went for it. And then it blew up in my face. Maybe some of you have had that experience too. But at any rate, I found myself on my knees. I had been living in Arizona. I moved to Arizona as a young adult on purpose because I discovered very early on in my life I was allergic to anything temperature-wise below 70 degrees. So in this moment of February, March 1993, let's say, I had found myself in Vermont, Burlington, Vermont. And I was in a moment in time where everything crumbled, everything fell apart, and it fell apart fast. It just was like things kind of sort of worked and then nothing worked. So I'm in the bathroom in this apartment I had rented that had no furniture. I never found out if there was a sidewalk in front of my place because the snow never did melt. And I cried out, I'm weeping. And I cried out to that which is greater than me. I said, I obviously have no idea how to run my life. I don't get it. Help. And in that moment, I heard a voice. It was like inside of me, but it wasn't me. I heard a presence that said, if you follow, I will lead. I got some visceral body chills, even now, this many years, 30 years later, talking about it. And that became a turning point in my life. And it became then a guiding principle. And it didn't ever mean that I didn't argue or I didn't barter or bargain, right? But it did mean that when a door closed, sooner than later, I quit banging my head on it. And when a door opened, sooner than later, I began to walk through it. And so, in a very short period of time, everything changed again. I left Vermont, was in Colorado with my parents for a while, back in Arizona. By the way, I was a single mom in a relationship that was part of that falling apart. My kids were like 4 and 8, 4 and 7. They were little. And so I moved across country, not once more, but twice more. That makes like 5 times in 6 months. And I began to follow. It wasn't long after that I got the call to ministry. I got the call to put me in the right place at the right time. But my point there is that from that moment forward, all the way up till today, if you follow, I will lead. If I follow, I am led. I trust that leading in a way that it guides everything in my life to the point where I don't even think about it. It's already there. That's my covenant. That's my covenant with spirit. It's my foundational principle since that time has never wavered. The other thing I want to talk about in covenants is Charles and Myrtle Fillmore have a covenant, and they had a covenant. They wrote a covenant in 1892. Now, Charles died in 1948. Myrtle died before that, 10 years, 12 years, something like that before that. But nobody knew about this covenant until 1955 or something like that, when they found it in an archival type place. So Charles and Myrtle wrote this covenant, and they didn't share it with anybody. It was between them and Spirit. Here's what it reads. We, Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore, husband and wife, hereby dedicate ourselves, our time, our money, all we have and all we expect to have, to the Spirit of truth, and through it to the Society of Silent Unity. It being understood and agreed that the said Spirit of truth shall render unto us an equivalent for this dedication in peace of mind, health of body, wisdom, understanding, love, life, and an abundant supply of all things necessary to meet every need, without or making any of these things the object of our existence. In the presence of the conscious mind of Christ Jesus, the 7th day of December, AD 1892. I think that is amazing. I think it is profound, because in that covenant with Spirit, they said, we put everything into this movement, right? Into this body of work, into this. This is who we be in the world. It's also why we be. We've been talking about our why, right? And this is what we expect. For me, if you follow, I will lead, says, I will follow and you will lead. You meaning Spirit, source, universe, quantum, whatever you want to call it, right? So I was playing with this idea of covenants. Now, this came about because we have covenants here at Unity of Springfield, but I wanted to give some background in the power of covenants. We have covenants, and they are agreements, but sacred covenants become the foundation of being. It becomes that which from everything else rides. So when we consciously come into a covenant, now I didn't call mine a covenant until years and years and years later, right? Looking back, but my life changed in that moment of time. It took a while to get my life back on track, but it happened, and it happened by divine guidance. And so when I first think about covenants, I think about Old Testament covenants, like in the, excuse me, in the book of Genesis, there's a covenant with Abraham, with Adam. Adam. If you follow me, if you obey me, if you put me first, I will make you a nation of people, right? Noah with the rainbow was a covenant. I will never again destroy the earth by flood. Here's the rainbow to prove it, right? Abraham, there was covenants with that. Moses, the covenants are the 10 commandments from the book of Exodus. There's the covenant of David and the temple of Solomon. Bless your people forever. We have the blessing of Mary. You have found favor with God. That's a follow through from the David covenants. And then in the book of Jeremiah, which is one of the books of prophets, Jeremiah 31. I'm going to read you this scripture. I love this, one of my favorite scriptures. It says, but this is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my law in their minds and inscribe it on their hearts. And I will be their God, and they will be my people. I will put the law. Now, Jeremiah was on the planet long after the 10 commandments. So the 10 commandments are, you have to do this and you can't do this. The 10 are good, basically good, right? But then the whole book of Deuteronomy and Numbers and Leviticus and Exodus, all of those are just filled with laws and laws and laws and laws and laws and laws, rules and regulations. And it's like enough to make your mind spin. But then here comes Jeremiah, says, wait a minute. Jeremiah received this from Spirit. I will put the law in your mind and in your heart. You will be my people and I will be your God. That is like the first time that we were given, we meaning, right, humanity, direct connect with spirit, direct connect. And that law is in our hearts. And when we are God's people, or when our God is our God, it's like take that out of religious context, right? And put it in a context of the quantum, like, oh, the universe. And the universe is within me, and the ways to navigate the universe and the foundations of being and how to be are all within the very depths of my heart. So a few years back, when Reverend David Mosher was working with this ministry, a group of people came out of one of the weekends that he did, created covenants for Unity of Springfield. This set of statements is designed to give us the ability to be in community together. It becomes the foundation of how we be together. And how we be together is built on top of, inside, around, through, and under these sacred covenants. So a few weeks back, you were given a covenant card. It's laminated, it's beautiful, and it's got the covenants on it. And so we gave that to you. We hope you're working with them. We hope you're putting them in your mind and in your heart. We hope that they are impacting how you be, not only in this ministry, but in the world. We also have a full sheet with some of what we call rationale. So the rationale for these covenants. But I wanted to lay this out in the context of this is sacred covenant. So the first one is use I statements and speak only for myself. So when we use I statements, it keeps us in speaking our own truth. It keeps us in speaking our own experience, if you will, and it allows others to see us clearly. The goal of this covenant is to allow each of us to own and clearly share our truth without fear or judgment. So if the intention for having covenants, if the why, underneath why do we have covenants, is about building mutual trust and respect in our community, about building a foundation for better behavior in our community, this is the foundational piece. So in Exodus, and Moses was at the burning bush, you all know the story, and he was called and he said, who should I say sent me? And the response is, I am that I am. And from that, it becomes, the I am statement becomes a very powerful tool. We teach in Unity that we want to use I am only with affirmative statement. I am bold. I am courageous. I am love. Yes, you can say I am angry. Of course, you can claim your feelings like that. But what we don't want to do is I am unworthy and I'm sick and tired and I'm bored and I'm discontent, because that's claiming your true identity with an outcome that you maybe don't want. So we begin to use I statements in the same power that we use the I am. My experience is this. I'm having the experience. I'm having the reaction. The story I'm making up about this is that, right? We've spent some time talking about stories. And it brings everything back to me in a way of personal responsibility. The other thing is it takes away this blame and shame. If you were different, I'd be happy. If you could be, everything in my life would be perfect if that person would do that different, right? That stuff's messy. And what we're looking for is to clean our container, to clean our consciousness, to be in the power that is ours by divine right. The first way we do that is by beginning to use I statements to speak only for myself. The other thing that that does is it keeps us out of triangulation. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But it keeps us away from other. The other is where we bring blame and guilt and game and all that messy stuff. Second part, right? Second covenant. I listen to others with an intention to understand. And I will take responsibility to clarify information by speaking directly using compassionate communication. Well, what is compassionate communication and what the heck does that even mean, right? Taking responsibility to listen with an intention to understand is very different than already working your response before you even hear, right? Let me hear you first. To facilitate clear communication, it's important when someone is speaking their truth that we listen with an open heart and without judgment. It's important to reflect back what we hear and to receive clarification. If we have misunderstood, right? To receive clarification if we have misunderstood. The goal of this covenant is to bring clarity, love, and intention to all of our communications. So sometimes I can't hear my husband. I know that's really hard to imagine, right? I'm like, is this what you said? He goes, no, that wasn't what I said at all. But if I'm listening with the intention to understand, when I reflect back and I have it wrong, there's no defense. If I have it all mixed up wrong and I go, well, you said that all wrong, and then I get defensive, and then he can't hear me and I can't hear him, and we got a mess. Nothing wrong with a mess. We just got to go clean it up. But if I'm listening with ears to really hear and I ask for a clarification, what I'm hearing is this: what I just heard, the story I'm making up about what I just heard is that you're really blaming me for something that I did or didn't do. And he could go, no, that is not it at all. What I'm trying to say is this. But it keeps the dialogue open so that we can become more curious about what really is going on. We can become more aware of our own beingness and our willingness to keep our hearts open. From the book of Mark 8:18, it says, do you have eyes but fail to see, and ears but fail to hear? And don't you remember? From Proverbs 10, it says, the hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord has made them both. Now, going along with that, we have 2 eyes, we have 2 ears, and how many mouths do we have? 1. That means we should talk half as less or more than we hear. So a few weekends back I believe it was in July, and we had our sacred listening circles. There were 26 people or something in the room, and every single person got the opportunity to speak. But in that process, if say there were 26 people, that means we listened 25 times and we spoke once. And if you talk to some of the people that were there, you will hear that they were as impacted, if not more so, by what they heard, by witnessing the other people as they were by speaking, by giving their opportunity to speak. And so it's all very powerful, but it's all very intentional. These are created very intentionally to put us in a place of building trust, of building respect, of creating a safe container in which to stand in. Number 3, I respect others by maintaining confidentiality. Holding personal truth as a sacred trust between individuals helps build confidence in a safe, secure, non-judgmental environment where each of us feels safe. Trust, safety. Trust is created with respect and confidentiality. If I know that what I say to you will not be repeated, I am much freer to say to you what's on my heart. If we don't have confidentiality and we have things like triangulation, but it's also where blame and guilt and shame and all this other messy stuff happens. So if somebody brings something to me in confidence, it is my responsibility to not share that. Now, if there's an issue that needs to be brought forth, I can say to the person who brings it to me, can we talk about this? Can I help you go to the person you need to talk to? Right? It's all about keeping the container clean. Trust is essential to healthy relationships, and confidentiality is at the heart of that trust. Number 4, I am authentic and transparent in relating to others and open and receptive to another's truth. It's about listening again. It's about being present, not in your brain and not up in your loopy mind, but in your being. I am open and transparent in relating to others. If I get triggered, if something comes up and somebody says something that makes me so angry or hurts me so deeply, if I am open and transparent, I will claim that. I will own that. I won't blame that person, but I'll be able to say, wow, when I heard that, I really had the experience of being hurt. Or when I heard that, it triggered anger in me. Let me explore it, right? Instead of just going off on the other person. As we speak our truth and honor another's truth, we want our intentions to be easily perceived. We harbor no hidden agendas and we show it through our actions. The goal of this covenant is to live intentionally, authentically, and with transparency. We are here as a part of this community, ever awakening to our soul's essence. We are here as part of this community to be engaged in connection with other people. That's the definition of community. And so if we are all authentic and transparent in relating to others, again, can you just see? I mean, I keep saying it just cleans the field. It just makes it just pristine. But have you ever walked into somebody's house that's just a mess? Energetically and dusty and dirty and maybe stuff, and no judgment on that person, but it feels, you can feel it, versus you walk into a house that's pristine. We are creating through these covenants a house that is pristine so that Unity of Springfield can be all that we are here to be. Again, it's about building healthy relationships. It's looking for the best in people. It's about bringing the best to the ministry. There is but one truth in the universe, but we all have our experience in that. Another way to say this is I bring my best to this ministry. And the thing that happens when you do that is you feel better. And so does everybody else. All right, number 5, I accept responsibility and want to be held accountable with compassion for my commitment, conversations, and actions. Accept responsibility and want to be held accountable. We are responsible for our own actions, our own words, even our own feelings. If at any time a Unity friend has questions about our words, promises, or deeds, that person comes to me, I will compassionately communicate to clarify and understand their point of view, accepting that we can have difference of opinion and still treat each other with respect. The goal of this covenant is to be an authentic relationship, accountable to one another and to this community. Again, you can feel how each of these is building trust. Accountability is super important because if you say you're going to do something and you do it, it builds trust. If you say you're going to do something and you're not accountable to it, then it's like, well, I can't count on that person. And then I can't count on this ministry. And it becomes a spiral down. Definition of trust is an attitude of hopefulness about life, a sense that the power of love is the greatest power, at least over the long haul. Trust is a conviction that we ultimately can experience God as God and not merely as an I. Life can include relationships with people and with spirit, with source. And number 6, I value the joy of being part of this spiritual community and support its thriving by sharing my talents, energy, and financial gifts. The principles teach us that knowing how to live is not enough. We are called to action in order to spiritually grow. Committing our time, talents, and prosperity enables us to individually fulfill our part of the Unity of Springfield mission statement. The goal of this covenant is to live into the Unity of Springfield mission and transform our world. All of these covenants are foundational ways for us to be together. They build accountability, they build trust, but more than that, they also build ownership in this ministry. This ministry is you, not the minister, the transitional consultant, or the board, or the staff. It's all of us. We keep coming to that realization. I keep hearing it from you. Like, this ministry is us. Yes, it takes a village. As the saying goes, this is my ministry. Feel that. This is my ministry. Not me over and above everybody else, but me, a part of the collective. This is our ministry. I love this place and the people in it. Feel it. I love this place and the people in it. I love what it stands for, and I love that I'm greater for being a part of it. I demonstrate and experience that through my active participation. The more you give, the more you belong. So within the context of these covenants that were powerfully created a few years ago, I want to invite you to just take these words and take these ideas and begin to implement them in your own experience, in your own life. It doesn't matter if you do them perfectly, because the intention is to embody them. The embodiment takes practice. If you make a mess, clean it up, right? My toddler grandchild spills the milk, I don't get mad at her, I just clean it up. If somebody pushes my buttons, I don't get mad at them. Well, I probably did, but then I go to them and I clean it up. Because we are creating an environment, a consciousness that is crystalline clean, that all people are welcome and valued and trust and belonging. These are specific ways that we do that. These are specific steps that we can take in and of ourselves and in and of our teams and in and of our ministry, that will indeed lead us to Unity of Springfield. We are divine potential in action. And we know this through our joyous excitement and warm, unified movement. Let's take a few moments in meditation. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Begin to notice what you've noticed in reviewing these covenants. Notice if you have your own covenant with Spirit. We all do at some level. It's just usually not that conscious. And examine in your own heart the places that you are willing to step up in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, in your experience for this ministry. And notice the places that you're not, like it's all okay. And as you notice what you notice, drop your awareness even deeper into the core of your being. Feel your awareness inside your body. Feel it at the bottoms of your feet. Feel it in your hip space. Feel it rising up and landing in the very bottom of your spiritual heart. And in this place, feel an igniting. Feel a part of your soul that says, yes, yes, yes. Say yes to spirit, to source, to creation, to the quantum, to the universe. Say yes to being your own biggest, boldest, most brilliant becomingness. Say yes to this ministry. Say yes to being a part of the co-creation, the realization of our divine potential. Say yes to these covenants and become willing to be your best, to do your best, to allow your best. And as you line up with your best self, notice how you are lifted. And as we line up each of us with our best selves, notice how this ministry is lifted. Lifted in consciousness, lifted in perspective, lifted in vision. And as you are lifted, look down on this ministry, look down on the vision of this ministry as we stand today, and see that we are in exactly the right spot and that you are a vital part of this process, of this journey, of this ministry. That your voice matters, that your experience matters. And as you take that in, feel it activating something new in you, something deeper in you. Maybe it's a sense of belonging. Maybe it's a sense of love. Maybe it's that joy. And as that builds in you, ignited from the very core of your being, allow it to overflow your experience, to fill your heart, to permeate and penetrate and fill the inner spaces of your being. As we say yes, we say yes. We say yes to spirit, to source, to creation. We say yes to God. We say yes to abundance, to wholeness. We say yes to meaningful relationships. We say yes to the future, our divine potential. Notice what you notice as that moves in and through your being, your consciousness, your mind, your heart, your soul. Place your hand on your heart and feel your yes. Yes. Yes, I am willing. Yes, I agree. Yes, I play. And together we play for our greater good. Lifted in awareness, lifted in consciousness, we know that we are indeed divine potential in action. We know this through our joyous excitement, warm, unified movement. And so it is. And so we let it be. Amen. So much love. See you soon.